Live.
Check. Nothing yet. Oh.
Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're just about to get started with this week's episode. Less than 10 minutes left. While you got a couple of minutes here, why don't you go check out OTheAnthem.com. It's where you can find everything O The Anthem, including the merch store, the podcast, and all of the videos. Open up a new tab.
Anchor.fm/O The Anthem is the place where you can get direct links to all the podcatchers you use to listen to our show every week.
Did you know we record every episode live on Facebook? Of course you do. But make sure that you're liking the page and turning on notifications so you get notified when we go live.
We make a ton of video content between the podcast, the short films, Heretics. YouTube.com/O The Anthem is the place for it all.
And of course you can find me on any social network at Robert N. Chief.
And me at Legend CB5.
And you can find the podcast at O The Anthem on all your social networks.
Yesterday, you went to the hospital to hopefully get a test.
Yeah.
And you were turned away.
Yeah. So I mean, well, let's just dive in on that part. Let me just say this, and I'll take Core away because I don't want him associated so much with what I'm about to say necessarily. I try to protect him from those things, but. Guys, listen.
Should I headphones? Should I earmuffs here?
Earmuffs, everybody. Let me just tell you this. I am experiencing this. Well, hey, newsflash, because I haven't really talked about it on social media at all. I've been posting a lot. Actually, I'll bring Corey back for this part. I've been posting a lot, which was weird. People on Slack at work today noticed that I was out sick, and they were like, hey, you haven't posted on Instagram, and you're out sick today. Do you have it?
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, probably. And I say probably because, and this part I'll take him away for. I cannot get a test. And I can't get a test because although they have tests at the hospital, or the urgent care that I went to for Kaiser, they won't give me one. And they won't give me one because I don't meet the federal qualification guidelines for testing. Those qualifications are, you have a fever greater than 100 degrees that's lasted more than 5 days. Check. My fever has been between 99 and 101 for about 5 days. And then for the last 4 or 5 days has been between 101 and 103. A slight cough, difficulty breathing, tightness in the chest. Check. I'll have all of those. And the fever continuing, which obviously I still have. So I have all of those, except what I don't have is the ability to quantify where I may have come into contact with someone. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put my conspiracy theory hat on, and this is what I've been talking about with people today. What they want is to be able to put me into a cluster. They want to say, hey, you contacted this person, and then that's how you got it. And the likelihood is that if I have it, I got it from riding in an Uber. I got it from being at a grocery store. I joked on a live stream last week about how, actually maybe but in the episode last week, but I walked into CVS after jokingly having my mask on beforehand, and then I'll bring Corey back for this part. And then a woman like 10 feet from me like coughed in my general direction, and I was like, okay, and I put the mask back on. I wasn't going to wear it, but I did after she coughed in my direction. And I think that they are artificially keeping the numbers down of, hey, we don't know how this person got it. What they want is to say, you know that you were in contact with that person, and now he's positive and you're positive. And we can trace back. So I've been in touch with my doctor regularly. We're tracking the fever. We are tracking the other symptoms. I am a mild case. I think, strangely, we were watching Anderson Cooper today, and Chris Cuomo did an excellent job of describing how I feel, which is There are times when I feel perfectly normal and perfectly fine. When we were talking about doing the podcast yesterday, I was like, I just don't feel up to it. But today I felt perfectly fine and we were starting to get set up. Now I'm feeling a little run down and the energy is waning, and it just kind of comes in waves like that.
This week on the the Anthem Podcast, we discuss the Washington Redskins trademark, upcoming congressional and primary elections. We got all the angles covered. Robert Cheek, lawyer, dirty liberal, 2 years experience and he already has books, a car that says I have student loan debt, and a desk with a computer incapable of accessing farmersonly.com. Bill Baker, lawyer, watches Fox News, 42 years experience with a bookshelf and artwork to prove it, a view that says, yes, my office is in a high-rise, and a book that is difficult to read even if you did spend 20-some-odd years in school. Corey Baker, filmmaker, libertarian, I guess, owns a piece of paper from Los Angeles, has a bookshelf that says I buy more than I read, a car that says I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid, and instead of writing has been singing the Odd Couple theme song for an hour. Tune in this week, episode 11. What are you willing to do for country? Will you take where you have come from, the days you spent working on your craft? Push through the long, hot summer days, so much so that the heat burns less than your muscles. Find the courage you have deep within yourself. Use all the drive, determination, and guile you can muster. Can you find the time to live a life around the time you spend? Practice, never give up, and work every day? Are you ready to run until your legs give out and then, and only then, get up and run some more? Can you put in the time to try things, work on the skills people call weakness? Are you willing to fail? Not just fail, but do it over and over again. Get to the point where failure is not a moment of shame, but the default outside of perfection. Are you ready for that moment? The one in front of millions worldwide. People chant your name, they clasp their fingers, they pray to their God. Where there is one goal, not just for you, but for your country. One goal you hold, one goal you strive to conquer. Are you ready to leave an indelible image in history? This week on the The Anthem Podcast, we give an update on Rob's health from last week, and we celebrate our 6th year anniversary doing this podcast and all the memories that come along with it. In the latest news out of Corona, nationally, talking about here in LA, Newsom as the governor sort of leading a United States. We can't wait. Push understanding exactly what the national stockpile is. Trump and his consistent tone. And then we're getting into a lot of election stuff because Wisconsin is voted to have their election tomorrow. Should drop out. A whole lot more. You don't want to miss coming up right now. The podcast. Social distancing doesn't mean we get close in podcasting for him. This is the Anthem Podcast.
Good afternoon. It's Rob. It is 17 of quarantine. We're number 10. And yes, we're both pants. This is the Anthem Podcast coming to you OTA Studios by the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining.
And today is a very special day because it is the 6-year anniversary. We just figured out we reached our heads.
Yes.
End of our 6th completed year of the podcast, going into year 7.
Birthday.
Yes.
Of the podcast.
Never thought we'd get here.
You know. Let's see. We moved studios twice.
Mm-hmm.
3 times because we started out. Oh no, it was just the practice episode that was in Denton.
Well, I mean, we did a couple episodes. There was like the going for, like every once in a while it would be up in Baltimore County, and then it would be in the Eastern Shore.
Took the show on the road a couple of times.
Yeah.
Then we did the
live
show. That was year 1.
We'd love to do more live shows, but I mean, obviously, all the events that we had scheduled had to be unfortunately
despite
really, it's a love to much. I mean, we mentioned it on the podcast, and almost immediately within announcing our in DC, the Verizon Center sold out.
Sold out.
I mean,
completely. Yeah.
I didn't even have a chance to mention it on the podcast, but now I guess.
And you can contact Ticketmaster for those returns. You could probably get
I'm sure they'll be accommodating.
The $5 ticket cost refundable. The $45 fee not refundable. Unfortunately, sorry.
Listen, you still use the web. I mean,
I don't know what to
that's
tell
how this works.
One really good announcement going into year 7 of the podcast. There is now a new place where you can join in and have a conversation about us, the podcast, the news of the week, and whatever we should talk about. The Anthem Alliance group on Facebook. Make sure you're going on and joining there. It's a great place for everyone to convene and talk about your podcast.
Yeah, and more than anything, if there's some piece of news that you see during the course of the week and you're just they talking about this, drop it there.
Yeah.
And then we can all have a little talk about it. And,
absolutely.
Some of the good ones up on the show each week.
And of course, that's linked to the facebook.com/The Anthem, where you may be watching us live right now, and we're live every week. So a lot going on. Start this week. I mean, we could talk about anniversary stuff. 6 long years.
Let from last week, because last week we recorded late because you were feeling ill.
Yes.
And you were still feeling ill during the recording of last week's podcast. They wouldn't give you a test at the hospital.
Yes.
Which is where we had been
on Monday.
On recording day, usual day. And you have since gotten a test.
I have. So I can't wait to do space. Use the Verizon.
I until the children go back to school.
Honestly, yes. Can we get the children back in school? Be damned. Let's just send the children back. Yes, I was able to get a test. So not through my insurance provider, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
The only way that I could get a test was through LA County. LA County shifted their qualifications slightly. They've actually shifted them again since. I think that Garcetti and Newsom, we're going to talk about a little later, leading the nation as mayor and in trying to address the And in doing that, is trying to get more people tested as much as possible. And so I went on. I was able to sign the process. And in fact, if you'd like to see what the process is like to get a test at a drive-thru facility, video on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/RobCheek, and you can see what it's like, not only just to go through the process, but to see me test. Super easy and not scary at all. And I found the worst part. Go check it out on youtube.com/RobCheek. Obviously, I'm feeling a lot. The fever is still there. We're back to the low-grade fever that we were at 2 weeks ago.
100 degrees as opposed to like 102, 103.
Yeah, I've been bouncing around between 99 and 100. I hit 101 for a little bit, but it wasn't. The sweat has gone away, so hopefully I won't be sweating through today's episode. I had last night. I had one of those fever stress dreams, which wasn't fun for that.
Yeah.
So that's new that's back, but otherwise. Better. It really just comes down to what kind of day did I have. Today was a relatively stressless day at work. I had one call, and then it was basically me on Salesforce, like building stuff. So I was able to focus in and not deal with like putting out fires, which is what I have to do a lot of the time.
Right.
So with those days where I'm like bouncing around and doing a bunch of stuff, they can be really stressful, and I think it wears down the system. Monday was a bad day last week just because it was the urgent care and the whole nine. But like I said on the video, I also did a video just about general and how it's on YouTube. It's also on Instagram. And it comes in waves. And unlike the total number, which we're going to talk about in a minute, I rode this wave upward where I had bad and good days and bad days and bad days, but the good days eventually were not as good as the good days were before. So you kept progressively worse, even though I was still kind of waving up and down.
Yeah.
Well, now we're on the other side of that, where I'm still having good days and bad days. Good days are getting better than the good days were before.
Yeah.
The bad days are still bad, but they're comparable to like the good days last week.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're gonna keep through this. Honestly, if I could take 4 days and just I'd probably be set.
Yeah.
But work is what work is. So I don't really have the chance to just take it and sleep. Maybe next weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, feeling a lot better. Color is coming back, even though.
Well, it's funny. The thing about Rob for the entire of the time I've known him is that he doesn't sleep much on like the normal day to day. He's one of those 4 or 5 hour sleepers on most normal. I think that's probably your average.
Yeah.
And then when you get sick, or if there's some reason you can sleep, just like automatically goes to for 18 hours. It's hibernation or something like that. Like
it's weird because when I go on vacation, I don't do this. There are occasions when it's like, you know what, I'm gonna take 4 days off and just have a little mini vacation.
Right, recharge.
I just sleep entire time. Like it's a staycation just to sleep. I'm thinking about when I went to Hawaii and I worked all day, drove. I think I podcasted that night. I drove from the studio there to New York.
Yeah.
For my flight, which in Phoenix in the morning, and then put me in Hawaii the next morning, and then just went on my vacation. So it was relaxing, but it wasn't like recharging, I guess.
Right.
Spiritually recharging, but not body recharging.
Yeah.
And like later on that year, I was like, you know what? I just need to take days off. So I took days off, and I literally slept the first 3 days, and then the fourth day was like, I got to get back on a good sleep schedule, or in the morning. Terrible. So.
Well, the thing I've noticed myself, and we'll get on to more of this here in a second, but I didn't fall asleep until like 8:30 a.m. the other day, and last night I was able to get to sleep at like 6 a.m., which is still not great, but better than 8:30. Like it's not doing me well to sort of have like this non-structured. Like there's nothing that feels regular about like how I'm like I used to like go out for lunch and like I'm not doing that and
I mean that's the thing is that you're even the non-structure you used to have, you're non-structured now.
Yeah,
because it's like to make sure that I get
the
to
little things that made me feel like I have structure, which are there, like really fuck with me.
Chicken closes at 2, so I got to get there by 2 to get lunch.
Yeah.
Well, Box Chicken is closed, so now it's like, well, if I do go somewhere local to get lunch, they're open till all day. So what time? Doesn't matter. We'll have lunch at 4, and you have the 3 of us annoying you all day. So it's like, what time does everybody want to have lunch? Okay, doesn't really matter.
Anywho, moving on.
But by the way, one note before we get off the 6th year anniversary.
Yes.
I watched. By the way, one feature I think Netflix should add. I just want to be able to go, Office, show me an episode. I realized that like
a shuffle.
A shuffle.
Yeah.
And just like I want The Office. I just want one episode from the 10 seasons.
I've wanted this for a different series.
Oh, it's The Office, but
I mean, there's a lot of great shows that are kind of like things that I've seen. I wouldn't want to like watch like The Wire on shuffle.
Yeah.
Because like if you just watch one out of context from the doesn't really work. Because it's like reading like one chapter out of a book at random. Yeah. Like it's just weird.
Of like a English book, like a literary.
Yeah. It's like I'm reading the Odyssey and it's just like pick up in chapter 17 and I'm just like, I don't know anything that's going.
I feel like I could have had a little preview into.
But The Office, Entourage, Law and Order is a great one.
Oh, Law and Order definitely.
Yeah.
But Park and Rec.
The Good Wife would be a good one too because like there's a case of the week feeling to it. So
30 Rock.
Yeah.
Basically, any of the NBC shows from the late 90s.
I guess you could give people the option to just whatever, but I mean, like, I would like the idea to, like, reality TV is probably really great for, I watch Nightmare sometimes when I go to sleep. Yeah. Like, that would be a great one to just, like, pick a random one. It's fine.
I don't want to have to choose.
Because what I end up doing is just scrolling through for 2 minutes, like, going, like, I don't know if I really want to watch Blackberry Cafe today. Like,
so I brought that up because I was watching in order. I'm again at season 9, and I realized I was one episode away from the like debut of the documentary, and I'm going to sleep anyway. Just our system is off from all of the weird sleep, and I think I couldn't go to sleep. I knew that episode was coming, and there was something about it, and I didn't know what, but I wanted to watch it, so I ended up watching it. Here is what I wanted. They have the ability, and just like them, we have the ability to go back over the last 6 years of our life and chronicle everything that we've been going through for the last 6 years. I was thinking about going to Detroit. Well, actually go back to the episode before where we talked about we did this crazy thing. We bought tickets. We're going to go.
Yeah.
Episode after where it's like, okay, so we just got back. The nice people who left the note on the windshield of the car and like all that stuff. Like, our entire lives are chronicled across the last 6 years. And you brought it up early this week. It's something that is a constant refrain, I think. Corey had the idea to do this about 6 years before we started doing the podcast. And what would you like to just be able to say 2008 to present, entire lives chronicled week by week?
Well, not only that, but there's a one thing I really enjoy about the podcast medium is that like it's sort of like you're an actor or a writer or a director. There's a certain number of years that you just sort of have to get through where people are just learning who you are and like what you can provide. And people aren't called because they don't know who you are. It's not because you're not talented, but there's like a through period.
Yeah.
And I feel like, people who started back when I was originally suggesting the idea, like Corolla and Bill Simmons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Rogan, those guys. They were in Marin. They basically had the 6 years of, well, what is this podcasting? I get it and all that. And then they were popular when people first started getting into it independently. Yeah. Because they sort of built a catalog and a knowledge base of it.
The guy from News Radio has a podcast? I'm into that. Let's watch.
But now it's great because there's the niche-based aspect of podcasts. I want to just learn about Chevy race cars. I'm sure there's a Chevy race car podcast I could listen to. Yep. I know nothing about it. I'm sure I could find out a ton.
And you binge it for 2 or 3 days, and then you're like, I know everything there is to know about Chevy race cars now. How are they at episode 7,000? I don't know. But
they're talking about the Bolsinger coil this week.
Yeah.
I was waiting for this.
But it's so weird the ability to that like 2 years ago, I think it also came up in my time hop 2 years ago of me going back and listening every episode. I think at that point we were at like 170 or 180.
Yeah.
All 180 back to back, and going and just finding the humor and chronicling through every single bit of it. And I'll remind everyone, episode 1, which is tasty, and you can check it out, was us doing my quizzes.
Well, we wanted something that was like kind of thing. So we figured that was a way to like do like a who are we and what do you get to know. But I mean, like I listened to a podcast a long time ago, and it was about like, you know, filmmaking and stuff like that, and it had Keegan-Michael Key on it. And at the time, he was just, you know, some nobody actor who happened to be friends with the people who ran the podcast.
Yep.
And, you know, he was just as funny and entertaining as he was, you know, 5 years later when he was on Comedy Central all of a sudden, you know. And it wasn't like people didn't know him. It's just like people didn't know to think to cast him. And hopefully the 6 years from now is, you know, we're more established along the line, and then people will be like, oh my God, you know, Corey Baker and Rob Cheek both have a podcast together and they've been doing it for 6 years. Like, you could learn listen to us while we were doing Heretics. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm debuting a #1 film in the country. You know, like it's
when Corey stayed up, I think 3 days in a row to hit the deadline for one episode of Heretics, because it just like didn't save the first night, and you're like woke up after I was like shit and had to
I think I was like rendering it. I was like, I'm gonna go to 6 hours, and then when I woke up, it was like gone, and
just
I was
stopped.
like, oh.
Yeah. But and that is all here in the podcast, in the history. It's a history. It's a history of
not to say I'm like we're Scorsese or Tarantino or anything like that, but if before they got big, Scorsese and Tarantino had a podcast, wouldn't you want to know like what happened in the lean years before they really hit it big? Like,
wouldn't you want to see when Scorsese made that hard right turn one year and eventually came back to I had this week too that was like, oh yeah, check out the podcast this week. Corey's made a turn to the right, and then started my accusations that Corey was a Nazi for about 18 months before Nazis started popping up again, and we were like, oh, this is not funny anymore. Okay.
I never thought it was funny. That's fine. You're allowed to find things funny, I guess.
Yes, and getting into things that are not funny. Check out by the way, Corey did an amazing amount of work on Anthem.com. Every single episode 1 to episode 312. Listening to this, 313 will be there as well. Every episode's available, easily searchable on the podcast or on the website, .com. Go and check that out. You can find episode 1, and you can find the ones we talk about Heretics. I would want to say that you could probably do a find on each of those pages. When we talked about Heretics was in the end in the title. So
for sure that if you are on the WordPress site, you can search tags and stuff, and I would have tagged it Heretics.
So there you go. So you just takes you to the WordPress site.
I have not my ability to get like a comprehensive search built into the website yet, but one of these days, hopefully. What I'd love to do one of these days, and it's quite the undertaking, is basically just play all the episodes and get like a transcript of each one, and then be able to search the transcript for like anything if we talked about Rand Paul 5 years ago, we could just pull it out.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's assume that we did about an hour 10 for each episode. 300 episodes, 100 and nearly 400 hours.
Yeah.
At $6 an hour. If anybody can
going back in the history books, Patreon.
Anybody can build a website search for Corey or take over the website for us, that'd be fantastic. If you're willing to do that, or transcribe for free.
I don't know if I want to just the podcast. Whoever
might
get some Jeff Lowe looking motherfucker going like, yeah, I'll take care of your website. I'll update it every week.
What I know is for give you like an interface where you can do the week to week and they do the big maintenance. Somebody who does big maintenance for you. You know what? I had this idea about a search where you could search for any topic and show notes in from the WordPress to this site.
It's amazing though. Like I've made it so much easier for myself to like post a new episode of the podcast on the website and stuff like that. And yet still every single week I get everything uploaded. It's, out there in the universe, and I'm getting ready to do the post, and I'm just like looking at the blank page. It's like, I don't want to do it. It's just like, It's like the writer in me just looking at the scene that I haven't read, and I'm just like, there's better things I can do.
It just makes me think of that meme where it's like introverts, and it's like the world now will stay inside. Well, I don't want to. Yeah, but speaking, of course, the topic of the week, the topic of every week from now until knows when, coronavirus. I feel like as part of our public duty, we should go through the official count numbers, and I want to make. We figured this out in the pre-show meeting when we were discussing numbers. There are actually two sets of numbers going around. One is the official set kept by the DC, and they're actually 24 hours. So the set of numbers I'm going to give you for the most are going to be at 4 p.m. And the reason so that every case can be confirmed that's reported. That way, nothing is over-reported.
Apparently there's a lot of like, if you're in the hospital dying of cancer, then you might get lumped in with a corona death because they're just reporting all deaths equally and not like.
If you are already in last stages of life and you goes to corona in the hospital, is that a corona death?
Yeah.
The current statistics, no, because you were less than 6 weeks from end of life anyway. The corona did nothing to speed up your death. You literally just were like,
you were 197 years old. A Stockpile would have done it.
Yes. Then we shouldn't lump them because what we want are the true numbers of the spread of the pandemic, not necessarily just because you had corona and you died. If you have corona and you get hit by a car, you should be counted in with the people who were killed by corona,
right?
Despite the fact that you were positive and you died.
Yeah.
So there are kind of like first call numbers and then official numbers, just like an election. So the official numbers, the 4 p.m. yesterday, and that's what I'm going to go through first. For LA, city of LA, LA County.
Yeah.
We are at 6,360 reported infections, and 147 dead.
It's actually not
terrible.
Horrible. Considering that County has roughly the same number of people as New York City has, and they are having a way worse time of it than we are.
And we may still be behind them some.
Yeah,
but
that's the word I heard. We're a couple days behind.
I meant to tell you. We were talking about in the pre-show meeting a report that Corey couldn't find. I found something similar that said that not that we are on the other side of the curve, but that if you compare the predictions 2 weeks ago to the predictions now, we have drastically reduced the curve.
Oh, okay.
We're still on our way up, but we have lowered the predictions immensely.
Right.
Because when they said, hey, stay home, people in LA stayed home.
Yeah.
And people in New York were like, there's that video from the
Fuck
Bronx.
you.
Fuck you, man. I'm going to. But the video of people in the Bronx where like the train station it's just packed with people.
Yeah.
And I think that too, the car culture in LA has been like, well, even if you're and you have to get to work, it's you in your car.
Yeah.
And there's another 15 cars around you, but in New York, nobody has cars. So it's every nurse and cop, essential worker,
is on the.
They're on the. That's how they're getting around. So like, it still looks very packed. And we were talking about the freeway. The freeway looks very empty. But if I was to sit there with a clicker and count the cars, I'd probably be astounded by how many cars went by every hour.
Yeah.
It's still way lower than it was in January.
Oh, I mean, it's noticeably different.
Yeah.
I think that LA is a more inclined, even though there's sort of like a idea of the person who lives in LA, I always think it's like the rebel who wants to get away with as much as they can without getting arrested. Like I'm not gonna be the rebel who grabs the wall. I'm going to be the rebel who like skates where I'm not supposed to. And then the security guard comes by and he's just like, get out of here. You're not allowed to skate here. I'm just like, come catch me, copper.
They are the rebel who graffitis the wall, but
it's acceptable here.
They get permission from the city first or the building owner, and then they make a beautiful piece of art on the wall as graffiti rather than just like tagging.
Yeah.
Although it's tagging too.
Yeah.
So for the state of California, official numbers again, we are at 14,336 with 343 dead. And that means that LA makes up
a little less than half.
42%
of
the people in California, which makes sense because the other 42% is the Bay.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I mean, and San Diego too is a
San
big
Diego's
population base.
At like 6%, literally 4% everywhere else.
Right.
Because people don't realize, big state.
San Francisco is tough too because they sort of have more of a New York thing where they're like on top of a lot more than LA is.
Well, we had the opportunity to do a FaceTime with family, and I don't know. I guess we've talked about it before that your brother lives in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And just like how it's impacted their lives.
I mean, locked down before we were.
They were.
Yeah.
And, they're so used to kind of being able to like, it's walkable, yes, but then really anywhere in the city, you just get on the BART and take the BART somewhere. Yeah. I don't even know if he has a car. Does he have a car?
No. He has a bike pass.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because he can easily bike to work now, so.
Living the dream. How did I shack up with the wrong baker? Anyway.
So funny when I was really young, I would bring friends over, and then they would become friends with Brendan, and then I would hear less and less of them, and I would just hear casually about Brendan like talking that I had started to become friends with, and then I'm just like keeping him away from like new.
Hey, let's go to your house. No, let's go to your house. No.
I was like, I never knew you had a brother.
I literally found out this weekend before we called him. He was talking to some guy who looks kind of like him on the TV. And
I gotta tell you, I like that though.
First, I'm thinking about moving to. I don't. I know it's super deadly right now, but and expensive.
See if they need a roommate. I mean,
but So nationwide, again, official numbers are at 330,891 with 8,910 dead. Now, the other number that I really wanted to talk about is the unofficial number kept by Johns Hopkins, based on data, which has us at 356,000 cases and 10,783 dead. And that number is important is because it means we are number one country when it comes to deaths from corona. Yeah. Surpassing China, the country where this disease began, and they had no idea what it was.
I would argue, though, that number are never to be fully trusted.
And then there's the question. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that they are 50% less than what they're reporting or anything like that. But much like you were just saying, if somebody walks in front of a car, we're not counting them as a corona death. Yeah. Like there is a part of China where I imagine like, well, he technically died of kidney failure, not of corona.
Oh, okay.
But the reason he was in the hospital and his kidney died was trying to fight off the infection. Like
insinuating they were just and shooting them and being like, I don't know.
Well,
I'll tell you.
Fucking what's his face in Thailand or Thailand.
In Philippines.
Yeah, Philippines. Yeah. Like saying like
we'll shoot
the
people
cops are just gonna shoot them in the street if they see. How are you gonna keep people from leaving us? We're gonna shoot them if we see.
You know what? Effective though. I mean, listen, not good, terrible.
Yeah.
But effective. Yeah. If Garcetti was just like,
if Garcetti said, if I find you on the street, I'm gonna shoot and kill you, I'd be like,
I'd stay.
I'm gonna stay in the house for a little while. Sir.
I mean, listen, we figured out it's a quarter mile to walk to their building and back. Like, all right, but let's go for they're into the building and back. That's inside.
Just cut to breaking story from the governor. It's on all the TV networks, and Newsom's in there with his like fucking commando outfit, like his military grade California governor outfit.
Yeah.
And he's just like, attention, California, you weren't listening. So here's the deal. If I find you, I'm going to hunt you down, I'm going to kill you, and I'm not going to ask questions. This has been Gavin Newsom. Live in fear.
Why I imagine his commando suit to literally just be a that's in camo.
Brooks Brothers and a camo print. Just like little stars for like.
And he's got like
the hard.
Over the epithets or yes on the shoulder.
The ones like a Banana Republic dictator has.
Yes, like. Exactly. He's got one camo jacket, different camo pattern on the shirt. The one on the tie matches the jacket.
Give him a hat like Gaddafi too. I always like that.
If somebody could do Photoshop, put Gavin Newsom Gaddafi outfit. That would be amazing.
He's been doing such a good job. I don't know why we're picking on him.
Fair enough. Okay, and you know what? That's a good segue because I'll skip down to that. Gavin Newsom seems to be leading the nation in the way that a president might do in other ways, I guess, in other times.
Well, it's amazing. The Republicans at times like these are their baser instincts and saying it's a country of states and states should decide. We're a federal society.
Yes, absolutely.
And then it's doing things like everyone needed ventilators, and the governors were literally outbidding one another ventilators that they were all trying to buy. And Cuomo was talking about it a couple days ago, saying this is madness because I'm spending like looking at like eBay and watching California bid me up, and that we're all paying more. Mm-hmm. So Gavin Newsom decided to collect a bunch from various states across the country, do group on things that they all need.
Yep,
effectively taking the job of the president of the United States by leaving it up to states to figure it out, and them that it's better if we do this together.
Now wait,
he's basically become the president here.
That's what I was going to say. I feel we almost have shadow government operating because again, we are a federal republic means that at level we have duplicate levels. We have a
to think that like for simplified terms, federal government is good for Democrats.
Yes.
And government is good for Republicans. That's where they would prefer the leadership sort of happen from. More local for Republicans and national for Democrats.
But keep in mind, in an emergency, generally speaking, strong federal government is what you want. Because you want resources to be allocated naturally to where you need to go.
Right.
The states thing doesn't work so much. And let me just say, you use, and I just thought about it in a meeting. There was a time when there were two countries sharing this same space.
Yeah.
Well, one of them seemed to be country anyway, and we were fighting each other. And one of those countries said, we are a federal republic, and we're going to allocate resources wherever we deem necessary. And one said, we're a bunch of states, and we're going to confederate together. We're going to operate as a union, but a very loose union.
Yeah.
And by the end, they had adopted a federal system because they were like, we can't get anything, and we need one army, one union, allocating resources. So let's just say we've tried it the other way. This way is better.
Right.
And what you're describing, where a strong executive gathers resources and them up.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like some sort of national stockpile.
Yeah.
Is that something that the U.S. would have?
So
really?
we do.
Oh, okay.
And
that's good.
Checked their website about a week ago. I've seen that they basically keep a stockpile of needed goods just in case there's some sort of emergency.
True. Yeah.
So there's medical equipment, there's like bottles of water, there's blankets, there's sandbags, like if there's a hurricane, there's
FEMA.
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And then Jared Kushner decided to speak, and he I think the idea that the national stockpile, the number one use of it is things that are sort of assigned to government, like the military or
you say
federal
number one,
workers.
But what you mean is the first use.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, in an emergency,
Right.
they would say, hey, you have a bunch of workers. We're going to give you these resources to keep the federal government operating so we can give out more resources on the road.
Right.
Help us to give everything to California and then have a bunch of people who can't survive to give out more stuff later.
Well, I'm sure Walter Reed needs some ventilators.
Yes.
And from that national stockpile, Walter Reed would be one of the first stops.
True.
But beyond that, if there's a bigger crisis at hand where other states might need some of that, it's supposed to go from the national stockpile to whatever state needs help. And Kushner does not think that's the way that it goes, and so the website was changed.
And I will say, Jared Kushner also has allegedly made a policy for his company to ignore the ruling of the Supreme Court of New York, which said, and they are proceeding with evictions. It really is only scaring people because apparently they're filing them in the court, and the court's like, okay.
Yeah.
Not issuing orders, but the person gets a notification that action was filed against them, which freaks you out when you should be, I don't know, sick or getting work or anything. And they can't move forward. It's just like your date is blank. It'll be sometime whenever we get around to it. We'll have that scheduled, but don't right now.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be some story that comes out on the other side of this where somebody gets kicked out the day the all is. Well, we filed this 3 months ago, and you had 3 months of notice that you were going to get kicked out of this apartment, and today's the first day that we're legally allowed to do it. So here's the moving guys with all your shit in front of the door.
But it's just the supreme dick move.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't go through with it, but we're going to do it anyway.
Well, it's so weird because, I feel like, personally, there's sort of a floating... My personal sense of well-being. So, we got a little bit of for the DTLA
right
before this had all started, and I'm still in the process of putting that together. But there's a part of me that feels, should I be out there advertising when a lot of people just lost their jobs?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if somebody who's on Facebook trying to pass the time wants to see an ad for a DTLA shirt at this time. But at the same time, we need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a job coming up for quite some time. I don't know when it's going to actually be. It'd be if some T-shirts got sold.
Absolutely.
But it's where do you draw the line where you're trying to be empathetic with other people who are in a situation, but you still have to do business as usual to a certain extent? And I think that in places like Kushner and his apartment complex, you can see the line a lot clearer. I don't think offering a product for sale if somebody can afford it is necessarily bad taste.
There are tons of people like Rachel and I who are able to work from home, continuing to work. And you know what? Would I look at some of those things I'm seeing on Facebook now and I'm like, hey, local business, great.
Yeah.
I'm going to just buy something I maybe bought before, but I want to support things that are local right now.
Right.
But yeah, and season's like, well, I don't have $20. Okay, get past it. You don't have to get one. It's
is free.
It's way different to threaten to evict. You may be concerned about, sick person in their household. What are we going to do if we get evicted? Grandma's got a cough and we don't have insurance right now. So,
or where do you go? I mean, I can't imagine that New York is showing a lot of apartments right now.
And I will say that's the one lucky thing is that LA seems to be also on the other side of you know what? We're not doing any in-person visits, but you can have a digital tour and apply. And by the way, it's a buyer's market or renter's market right now. They are.
For the first time in a long time, the rent has actually gone down.
Oh,
There
was a place that was advertising and it was this is an $1,800 a month. And I was like, okay, well, that's out of my price range. But down, we're offering in tiny type. We're offering a rent break for the first 12 months of the lease. And I'm like, that's the whole lease. What are you talking about? It's going to be down to $1,400 for the entire lease. So what you're saying is if I renew at the end of that lease, I should expect it to go up to $1,800. Okay.
Yeah.
So not going to renew, but all right, let's
I'll go there for the first part.
I'll go there for the first year. That's fine. But it's just, it's a buyer's market for the first time in a time because, again, going to the empathy of this whole thing, it's because people can't afford to get new place. I know just a ton of people who just spent the last dollar they had rent that was due this month and now trying to figure it out. I don't know where rent is this month, kind of. And that's really scary.
It's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're in a place like LA where so many people come from somewhere else, at what point do you just say I have to go back to wherever?
Yep. Whenever you can evict,
I have to go back to Wisconsin.
Whenever you can evict. But I ain't gonna be here now. I can have your rent next week. I can have your rent the week after that. You can keep calling. I'll keep hiding my voice. But I mean, it's
no, Rob is not here.
No more. But it's just
this is anonymous.
And by the way, I have sent out a couple emails to a couple places, and just they are 90% nicer than they were 4 weeks ago when I was sending them out. I was getting replies that were like, how's your credit? Da, da, da. And it was just like, oh my God, thank you for inquiring. And I kind of superseded that in my response. Just so you know, job secure, don't have income for the next few weeks. Credit, bit shaky. Listen, that's not a problem at all.
Yeah.
If you can get a letter from your employer that you've been employed there for a certain amount of time, I'm like, I can do that. all right, well, we'd love to take you on a digital tour of the place. I'm like, it's all coming up rough now. Okie doke. So I may be living in a really nice place for the next year. Also concerned because now that I think about it, if somebody moved out because they couldn't afford it,
yeah,
where will they clean that? They're just like, bring somebody else in. These dummies aren't touring.
I mean, I think the science that I saw, and by the way, real quick, I saw a lot of, there's just a lot of awful conspiracy theory stuff going on Facebook and Twitter right now.
House frows on Facebook are ridiculous.
The ridiculous things I'm hearing are, I saw one the other day. Just a generalized political fear mongering post where it's just like, Schumer is worried the Democrats might lose 15 plus seats this coming election. And I'm just like, 15 plus seats? And I looked it up. There's only 13 seats for re-election available for the Democrats. A lot of them they're not losing. I mean, like Cory Booker is just not going anywhere.
No.
I mean, and most of them are probably safe. But to think that 12, I think, is the most that ever changed in one election. And that was when Obama lost 6.
That was huge.
Yeah, that huge. Felt like he lost 20,
yeah.
like in the current scale of things. So like, it's just like nobody has time to check anything. And like, I remember the Tiger story came out the other day where the coronavirus.
Yeah.
And people were like, I thought I couldn't get it. And I'm just like, well, this is why we continue studying this sort of thing.
Yeah.
You don't hear me saying like, worry about animals because I don't fucking know. Like, who am I? Like.
Also,
I'm a filmmaker. I'm not in charge of whether or not people. All I can do is go off the best information I have at any given point in time.
Yeah.
And then if I learn something different, that's fine. I've heard that the likelihood of this illness being transferred from human to animal is exceedingly rare.
Yeah.
So perhaps this is one of those rare occasions where it happens. Much like I've heard that if you get it, much like the chicken pox, you can't get it again. But that's not necessarily 100% true. It's like just based off of general knowledge of how viruses work.
And I have jokingly said like, oh, immunity. Like if I test positive and I'm feeling better, I can just go out and walk around. I will still be wearing masks everywhere.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I want after getting through the mild version is to get the worst version and then be like, oh, it could have been so
with
good.
a weaker immune system coming out of it too.
Yeah. I don't want to deal. And I hope that it is. Wouldn't it be great that the next year of my life, I don't have to worry while everyone else is kind of about it? Great. I'm still going to do smart things to protect myself.
Yeah. I'm not licking subway poles or anything.
I jokingly said something on a call today and then from somebody that was like, well, you still should wear your mask outside. I'm like, yes, of course. I'm not going to go out and eat off the sidewalk. Like, no, I'm going to protect myself.
I would like to say this just as a thing. I do like wearing the mask and the gloves. For as long as I've basically been alive, I've always wanted to have an excuse to wear gloves in public. I don't know why it just fascinates me so much, but it does. I like the idea of wearing gloves and the mask too. Like just having a bandana around my mouth, I just feel like more like confident for whatever reason because I feel like I'm getting to do something that I don't normally get to do.
Corey went out. Remember the IRA today? Yeah. He had like the 4-leaf clover thing around his face and the baseball gloves on. I'm like, are you about to go kill some bobbies? What's going on right now? God. There's not a lot of people to be menaced by me on the streets, but yes.
I feel like people look at me and be like, I don't want to mess with that guy.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of security I don't normally have. Like, I imagine I walk around and the criminals are like, there isn't.
Like, generally speaking.
Oh, look at that big fat idiot. Listening to my headphones like, ooh, yeah, little bit more. Ooh.
I was going to say, you're basically the DiCaprio meme while walking down the street most days. No, it's like, I'm a tough guy, too.
Yeah.
But speaking about walking around, LA, I had moved around this damn list. Oh, that sucks. No
LA County,
groceries.
Yeah.
Yes. So they're actually recommending now that you don't even go out for groceries anymore. And
just one person go get the groceries. Because like that, and that's the thing I've been saying for the last.
I feel like Corey just read that rule. does not want to go get groceries for anything.
Oh,
he does not
hold
to
on
leave
a
the
second.
house.
I will pull up the story. Just give me a second.
Well, do you have it? I was going to say while you're...
You can Phil.
Yeah, so while
second.
he's pulling it up, one of the good things, again, about LA is that they have this passive data about cell phones, and they're seeing that LA, unlike a lot of cities, people are staying in their neighborhoods. And I saw related to that grocery story that they're actually talking about putting a restriction on people just to stay in your own neighborhoods. And the reality of it is most people, like we are staying downtown for the most part, going to stores downtown, walking if possible. And so for most people, it wouldn't impact it. For the couple of knuckles still going and like having 20-person parties in Wood Hills, great. Now you can't because you can't leave your neighborhood anymore. And most people will be unaffected. That is the kind of thing that when I want to look at data, that same data for other cities and just see how much. I bet you New York is still a lot of like interborough travel and going all over the place. Travel's easier in New York, I think, for an individual, just because even if you don't have a car, you can still get places. Like right now, I don't have a car, and Uber is a little hard to come by. So for me, it'd be like, and the trains are shut down. So there's no public transportation. For me, it's like I got to find somebody to take me somewhere if I want to go somewhere. So it makes sense. The no grocery thing, I think, is one of those, let's act on it before it becomes a problem. Because Corey also saw a story out of Florida where people were going to church just because they could go to church.
Right. There was people interviewing people pulling into church going like, why are you going? And it's like they said.
And last week where people went to flooded the beaches and parks because it's the only place in LA you could go. And like I get the attraction of that, but stay home. Christ. We're trying to get through this together. Did you find the story?
No, I'm trying to find one where it specifically mentions the ones that are sort of saying the skip grocery shopping if possible. But apparently in that press conference, they said if there's one person that can be the designated grocery, because apparently there's families that are dragging like all 4 people to the grocery store at the same time to shop.
Okay. Well,
and I understand the like you can't have the 2 parents go out to the grocery store and leave the kids by themselves, so they have to come now. But
just take
one person could just go and get all the grocery shopping done, and it's one less person that's exposed to.
But in a 4-person household where we're all adults, I feel like going in pairs where somebody can eye hurt, so if anybody tries to grab the chicken out, we can just like
stab them, shiv them.
I mean, it's basically Mad Max, right? That's we're getting to the point where it's Mad Max rules. So
well, I mean, we're starting to get in the mask. It's only a matter of time before we're going into diapers and
I'm really
spikes and stuff like that.
At what point do you think we can go to the bank and just keep the masks on while we walk in?
So
did you do that? Did you go to the bank?
I went to the corner store like right on Cesar Chavez and Figueroa.
Okay, yeah.
And I had it. They had a sign on there saying, "Please keep your mask on. Do not remove your mask."
Which is the opposite of the they used.
But I mean, like, I just feel like I'm walking up and I'm just like, "Give me all the money in the register." Like, I just feel like I have this power now. Like,
this is why people like Corey should have no power ever.
This is why I should be allowed to wear a mask.
Get a little bit and they go crazy.
I'm gonna turn into Sub-Zero if I just keep escalating. Like the mask is gonna become more and more.
We're already at 50 minutes, so let's roll through some of this other stuff. I want to apologize to everyone because last week I said I thought it was a really positive thing that Trump had sounded so much different.
Yeah,
and I forgot that we were dealing with a narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah.
Literally plans out everything about their lives, so much so that he was calculating that, okay, if I say some nice things and I look like I'm, like mea culpa, everybody, I made a mistake, they'll write good stories about me. Then I can just fuck with them for a few days and then also change it back. And a couple good days of news coverage in between my kind of shitty days in between.
Yeah.
The dude... Could we have a worse person running the country right now?
No,
like, literally.
Well, Brian Kemp, perhaps.
Okay, well, yeah. If you missed that story, the governor of Georgia said he recently became aware, as in the day before.
Within the last 4 days. So within the last 4 days, apparently, Kemp learned.
Yes.
Stupid or liar. Brian learned within the last 4 days that people who aren't showing symptoms of the disease be carriers and spread it to people who will later die from it.
Now, I believe one of the first things reported about this.
Which is why everyone's like, stay home.
Yes.
Like, you don't know if you're sick. Like,
so
just because you're feeling good right now doesn't mean you're going to be feeling good in 10 days when You've touched 1,000 people.
We love to play the game stupid or liar.
Yeah.
And this is one of those scenarios where there is no out. Either you are stupid or you are lying. That is it.
There's no in between. There's no way. Number one, I don't believe that nobody told him.
Oh, no,
or that
absolutely
he hear it somewhere. The only way he can possibly get around the fact that he actually heard it is that he heard it and denied it. Like
CNN
the
story,
Washington
don't
Post
believe
said it. Yeah,
Nope,
like
don't believe it. Nope.
I bet that bitch Abrams said it. Like
I bet that bitch Carol Baskins is behind it. By the way, how much better would Georgia be right now if Brian Kemp had not stole the election from Stacey?
Oh, and Stacey. Oh, yeah. I mean,
how many people are going to die in Georgia, do you think, because Brian Kemp stole an election last year?
I mean, it's kind of, in a way, cruel and unusual punishment to determine how likely you are to survive this crisis based off of what kind of governor you have or what kind of mayor you have. And, you know, there's places where, like, you know, in Baltimore, where Jack Young has no authority whatsoever. Nope. He's basically just been like, hey, listen to Hogan. Like,
yeah, I'm filling the seat until the election. By the way, you're running for that seat.
Well, Hogan said, like it seems like he's doing very little. And, I mean, at least...
Major American city,
but at least, you know, the state is being covered well by Hogan at the time. If the governor of Texas, or Alabama was the worst I heard.
K, what's her
Ivy
face?
or whatever? Yeah. Like,
By the way, she looks like my grandmother. Why is she governor of... I don't want my grandmother to be governor or something. No. You're a crazy old lady. Stay home.
We know her. She's been here for 75 years.
That's reasons not to be governor, not a reason to vote for
She
somebody.
remembers when Alabama was good.
Wait a second.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. At what point was the good years in Alabama? I just want to know. I need to know what's the baseline for good?
For reasons. I want to know what period you're talking about.
That year when you were only 47th in math reading. That's
okay.
right.
That's a good.
That was a pretty good year.
But I mean, there's another one. The Democrat in Alabama.
Take that, Mississippi.
The Democrat in Alabama, who, I mean, lost way more than Stacey Abrams did, and there were no allegations that it was stolen, but it was just like Kay. I can never remember her last name. Kay Ivey got the backing of Trump in her election, and that was it. In Alabama, getting Trump to come down there and be like, this woman should be your governor, game over.
Just look at all the things that, what's his face said, Roy Moore had to have come out for him to lose that election by like 2 points.
Barely.
Like,
Barely.
There was stories about him going to shopping malls to talk to teenage girls. And that was the level of nonsense to get to before.
Defeated by 2%.
Before this crazy person doesn't deserve to be a senator.
Oh my God. But anyway. First of all, at some point, can we just start saying, listen, maybe we lost the Civil War. Maybe we should just let them go off, make their own country.
They'd be dead by now.
Eventually we can just reconquer the land. It'll be empty of people. There'll be no vaccinations. They'll all have Ebola.
10% of the population remains. We'll just be like, all right, survivors come with us.
Yeah. I think that is the way. I think maybe we're on to something here when it comes to fixing this country. The problem, though, is where do we put the dividing line? Because Wisconsin seems like it's about to be at a civil war for itself as well.
This whole thing with Wisconsin is incredible to me. So
constitutional crisis in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is very much the definition of a purple state.
Yes.
They have elected Republicans and they have elected Democrats at the head of at the governorship, and they have done it for the presidential election in the last 20 years. They've been very back and forth.
Liberal Democrats, very conservative Republicans, and then these weird middle grounders. Like it's such a weird state. I don't understand.
Well, and because it's such a weird state, they're really worried about precedent setting, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So the Republicans,
maybe a former president who bombed brown children all around the world and said this could never go wrong. And give a Republican the authority to bomb brown children all over the world. Yes, they worry about that kind of thing.
So the state house in Wisconsin is Republican. The governor is a Democrat. The state Supreme Court is 5-4 Republican.
Yes.
That's the things you need to know going in. The election in Wisconsin is today. You're listening to it.
Yeah.
And Evers, the governor, wanted to postpone the election until the end of July or something like that. They've already postponed the Democratic National Committee or Convention, which is happening in Wisconsin. It was supposed to be in July or whatever, but not now.
Nope.
And he had to reconvene the state legislature to vote on whether or not they could move the election. Mm-hmm. And they said no. So now he used emergency order to postpone the election, but then the state Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. So tomorrow there is going to be an election in Wisconsin where in Milwaukee alone, where there was 180 poll centers under the best case scenario, there's going to be 5 tomorrow.
Yay.
Democracy. They have vote by mail, but you have to order the ballot in advance.
Right.
Much like an absentee ballot would go.
I was going to say, and most states allow you to, you would have had to order it before this entire crisis started, because it's usually 8 weeks to 10 weeks ahead of time. So even if you want to vote by mail, you can't. And let's say you want to go vote, great. Go stand in a line 9 hours long with 100,000 people.
Yeah.
Because there's 5 polling sites open.
Yeah. And I mean, like...
and, by the way, people who've heard the news stories, they may have only heard the story that the governor said it's going to be postponed.
Well, how bad do you want it? So, Bernie was hoping to have a good day in Wisconsin.
Yep.
Under a... If things were fine, there was no coronavirus, I think he was hoping that Wisconsin would come out for him. Now, how badly do you want to vote for Bernie? Like, it's sort of put out there. And if you're a Joe person, how badly do you want to go out there to make sure that these young Bernie people don't go out and vote win Wisconsin?
Like, I was going to say, I think that advantages Bernie, because you get a bunch of people, his voters are way younger, and they're also the ones who are at spring break saying, like, I don't care about no corona. I'll get corona to vote for Bernie. Yeah. And Joe people are like...
One guy in line going like, well, I currently have corona, so I'm really hoping that universal healthcare thing kicks in pretty quick. That's why I'm voting for Bernie. It's kind of a last-ditch thing.
He just everybody behind him in Social distancing, right? 6 feet.
We're moving this from 6 feet to 60 feet. I'm sorry.
By the way, you want to get to the front of the voting line? Just let everybody know around you, like, I have corona, and I'm really hoping to get this universal healthcare thing rolling. Go ahead.
You think it'll be up by the end of the week, right? He wins this election, and then he's president, right? This is how this works. We're all voting today.
Uninformed populace. Yeah. Oh, but yeah, so...
I really like his positions on how we should eat and kill children. It's just like, let's not stop him. He's voting for Bernie.
It's fine.
He doesn't have to know all the issues.
But by the way, this is something that's going to repeat itself, because we are midway through the primary process, and we are nowhere near midway through the corona crisis.
At this point, I don't see a path forward for Bernie. I just don't, unless just like he wins all these states, 10 people voting, going out to the polls and actually doing the voting.
How about Joe Biden has a heart?
Well, I mean, that's
corona.
That's a possibility too. But I mean, if you were to drop out today and Joe were to die on Friday, then I'm sure they would find some way to still
get him back in.
Nominate him for that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Or they would just see what Tim Kaine was up to and
the one person I want less than Joe Biden, Tim Kaine.
Just like Bernie's up on the stage. It's just like, with the unfortunate death of Joe Biden, I figured we should come out as a party and explain what we're going to be doing here. We're just going to nominate, and Bernie like starts walking slowly up towards the podium, and it's like, Tim Kaine.
Let me see if I can get off camera here. All of a sudden, out of nowhere. Hi guys, I'm Martin O'Malley. You might remember me from such things as the 2004 Democratic primary. I've been out with my rock band, but
I was the guy who finished third in that race.
I was in longer than Tim Kaine, technically.
Don't look at the numbers. I finished third.
I absolutely was in there, the third place.
Listen, they don't look at the score at the scoreboard. They just look at who won.
Absolutely. Yeah, but should Bernie drop out? That's the question.
I think that probably for the best he does, because I don't see how he can garner the type of support that would allow him to. At this point, I'm okay pulling the lever for Biden, but I would do it in a, listen, you are on thin ice the second you get in. There's no learning curve, Like, if you do something that I don't approve of, you're going to hear about it immediately. And I will vote you out. I will vote for Marco Rubio or something like that if it comes to it.
Unfortunately, we only have these things every 4 years. So once
Right
he's
now.
in, he's in. And by the way, once we choose him, he's
Believe
running
me, I
against
know.
Trump.
We've been living through this Trump thing for a while.
He's running against Trump, though. So that means, like, after this, he's our guy against Trump. And I have not seen Biden, but I have seen a lot of Trump.
Yeah.
And I've also seen a lot of Bernie.
Yeah.
And the question is, do you want the guy who is a leader in a crisis, which Bernie seems to be?
Yeah.
Or do you want the guy who's the known quantity who literally only seems to be supported by Democratic, like, party people?
I would say this. I would prefer Bernie. I think Bernie is there's no disputing that. I feel like Joe and Bernie would do a similar thing, which is get the best people they can possibly be to be experts for them during a time like this, Like,
I don't know about that.
you know how everyone likes Dr. Fauci so much?
Yeah.
Like, it's because he knows what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
We would find it might still be Fauci. Like, to be honest, if it was Biden or Bernie in this situation right now, it'd probably be Fauci.
What is the number one factor?
He's one of the leading disease experts in the country.
We talked about this in the pre-show. What is the number one thing that could improve the corona situation right now?
If there was a stronger federal government response earlier on in the process. We knew about this way before.
Before that.
Well, can coordinate for all the states. And
Before that.
I don't know what you're getting at.
So right now, I am concerned, you are concerned about someone sitting at home who's sick but has to go to work.
Right.
And they can't go to the doctor and they're afraid to say anything to anyone about being sick because they need the income.
Yeah.
If they come up positive, they can't work. And what am I going to do about my bills? Medicare for all, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
A universal healthcare system means that this crisis doesn't get off the ground nearly as fast as it did, and also a more intelligent person who deals with the crisis when it arises. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But first of all, people start getting sick and no one thinks twice about going to the doctor. They just show up at their doctor and say, hey, not feeling good. Let's look into this. Maybe we put the kibosh on a lot of this insane exponential growth.
Yeah.
Do we get universal health care with Joe Biden?
I think that.
Oh, come
Hold
on.
on.
The guy in the pocket of the insurance companies is going to give us
I think Bernie's leverage right now is higher than it would be if he allowed a couple more primaries to play out.
Okay.
So.
I'm going to get Joe to agree to
but
push for that?
I'm saying like the type of margins Bernie has to win by in like every state is like 70% to 30%.
Well, unless, why aren't we asking if Joe should drop out? Why doesn't Joe drop out?
Because Joe's the leader in the.
He's the leader if you include the Democratic superdelegates.
No, he's the leader in the unconfirmed delegates so far, or the ones that have been voted on so far. He's got a humongous lead.
He's got a big lead. But if you count by population, what's the population division? Far closer than what the delegate count shows.
Clearly. I mean,
he's
winning a lot of smaller southern states where Bernie is winning things like California.
So why aren't we saying, Joe, do the right thing for the country? Clearly, this is the leader we need right now. This is the guy who has the ideas that are going to take our country in the future. I need you to do the right thing and step down.
What worries me about Joe is not Joe the person. I feel like Joe the person is honestly a lifelong public servant and wants to do good for people and wants to improve lives. And he comes from an older perspective where the Democratic Party was a little bit different during the Clinton years than they are now.
Sure.
The average Democrat is more like Bernie nowadays than they are like Clinton.
Yep.
And Biden is definitely more of the Clinton mold of the Democratic Party.
Yep.
I think that right now Biden is being told by all the people trust, the smarter people in the room per se, it's best if you're not out as much. Just let Trump go out there and do his own thing, because we are going to do way better just showing all the Trump fuck-ups than we are going to put you in front of camera saying something stupid.
Right, exactly.
Because if you go out, if you have a fireside chat right now, and it's Beth from Virginia Beach wants to know what she's going to do about not having a job.
Hey, Beth, nice tits. Now let's get to your
hey,
question.
Toots, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want Biden to do that sort of shit. So
but we
it's
have
best
to worry about that.
No, I get it, but I'm saying last week we had the conversation about like there's only so many things I can worry about right now, and the most important things have to be at the top of the list.
Yeah.
There's not enough bandwidth out there to convince 70% of the people in the remaining states to go out and physically vote for Bernie. Because in a lot of these cases, it would still be like Wisconsin, where you would have to physically. They don't have a vote by mail system worked out for a lot of these states.
He doesn't show up to the convention, they cannot nominate him. That's the thing. He can remove himself from contention at the convention, and then then we have a bunch of uncounted votes. But the number one vote getter is Bernie. Then on second vote he gets.
I think Biden sees a lot of logic in, because he's been in this place where he says something dumb and then he becomes a story for a couple days. He would rather just stay out of the wake of Trump doing this to himself. Earlier today in the press conference, Trump called Schumer a shithead, and it's like nobody likes him and he's a total crackpot, and he's just losing it on national television. This is at any day he could just possibly say something that would become a story for 2 weeks, where Trump is up on the podium and he says, I don't give a shit how many people die. And then all of a sudden, that's all people can talk about. How the president doesn't care how many people die of this thing, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't behoove Biden to be out there. It behooves Bernie to be out there, because the more he's out there, more he might be able to pick off Joe in lower turnout states now, and maybe have a better chance at getting that 70% he needs on a state-by-state basis. But it's just... It would benefit Biden more if Bernie dropped out now than opposed to later.
It would benefit Bernie more for Joe to drop out now than it would for him to drop out later.
I get it, but I'm saying Biden has to take this from the perspective of being the front runner. That's how his campaign is going to handle this. So Bernie has a lot of leverage right now to just put his arm around Joe and say, listen, tough times, and this isn't going the way I hoped it would. Joe and I have had conversations, and he is going to adopt a lot of the
he doesn't get to control that. The party controls that at the convention.
The DNC in 2016 changed a lot. Their party platform.
Not about the rules to elect people, clearly.
A lot of that did change, though.
No, super delegates still outnumber the regular delegates.
After the first vote of the delegates who've been nominated by state party people.
Sure.
So it's not the same thing as when you find out that Bernie wins Iowa by 80%, but still loses 2 delegates because 19 super delegates decided to go the other way. It's not the same anymore. So if you can win it on the first ballot, then you don't need to worry about the super delegates.
There was a time for President
and there's
Biden.
Less super delegates now.
There was a time for President Biden. Let me tell you when that was. In 2002? No, in 2008. 8 years after President Gore, when we needed a nice space filler for President Obama to come in 2012. That was the time for President Biden. Unfortunately, we didn't get President Gore in 2000. We didn't have him go 8 years. We had to have this ridiculous wartime Republican presidency. We swung far back to the left after that and got President Obama 4 years probably before we should have. And now this is where we are, where we swung so far left that it caused a swing to the right. You get a President Gore, and you get a nice little that little moderate taste in your mouth from a Biden, and then the country moves not left, but it restructures where left is center. And then we end up like a European democracy where Obama is a centrist and Biden looks like he's on the right, and then we can actually move forward.
I mean,
Bernie looks like he's progressive, but not crazy.
You know what I would almost prefer is sort of the there's been a lot of conversation about should Biden say that he would only run for one term or he would only serve for one term. And I think there's an interesting logic behind that. And he might be able to win some support just by saying that and sort of saying listen, I plan on filling my vice president is going to just be a fucking suit and tie. It's not just going to be some person who's sitting there. It's going to be somebody substantial, ready to take over the job if and when something were to happen.
Yeah.
And that's not where I'm stopping. I'm putting key people as much as I possibly can in the cabinet in positions of trust And I would like to, at the end of my administration, be able to put my arm around somebody in the administration right now and
how
say,
about somebody in their 40s? Can we do that? Somebody in their 40s.
Stacey Abrams has been a very good vice president for me. I think she's ready to have the big job. I'm taking a back seat. I would like you to vote for Stacey Abrams now. Like that is a very reasonable.
I don't know about Stacey Abrams. She hasn't started as an executive. But,
if you feel like you can put enough up and coming superstars in positions of, I mean, Obama did this. He put the Castro in his HUD seat. Yeah. Like Castro could have been mayor of San Antonio, or his brother was.
Yeah. No, he was.
Was it him?
He was him. It was him, and then he went to HUD. That's how he got his
one of
step
them.
up.
One of them was mayor. One of them was congressman, and then
you might be right. He might be the congressman. Yes.
It's hard to tell those twins apart.
Yes.
Those brothers apart.
Julian might have been congressman, then HUD.
Yeah.
But didn't the brother also serve something in the administration?
I don't remember.
Because the other thing is you don't stay for all 8 years. You come in for a couple years and you leave.
Right.
And by saying one administration, 4 years and I'm out,
yeah.
You're saying there will be no change. I'm bringing in a Secretary of State. I'm setting you up for the next vice president. I'm bringing in a vice president, and I'm setting you up for who's going to run for president.
But you don't even need to say, like, it's going to be the vice president who moves on into my spot afterwards. It's like,
I'm bringing in strong
people so that you can get a sense of what these people would be like if in executive experience.
Yeah. Do what Trump does. Every time I'm on TV, well, until he started looking real sickly, my vice president's going to be right there with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them stuff to do so that you know how good they are. And I agree. Except for... just generally speaking, I don't. I want to do. We're already over time. I just want to mention two very important things because I missed it last week. Number one, everyone is going to be getting a $1,200 check, and I don't think it is an odd coincidence that it also costs $1,200 to build a guillotine. Maybe that is the solution to this electoral problem.
Or the two of us can lump our money together and we can buy a tiger.
Build a big guillotine. Yes, a giant guillotine. We should all group together and buy guillotines. And the other thing is, this is the latest chapter in which 70-year-old white guy are we going to choose to lead us? It's ridiculous. And I kind of step back at Stacey Abrams. I did that not because she is a black woman, but because she has no executive experience. And I don't know that 4 years.
She was a mayor, wasn't she?
She has no executive experience.
I'm just saying she.
I called Pete
Buttigieg. Yeah.
Realistically, though, that is a lot like me saying Trump in 2016. It's cheering for an outlier. And then if he had started winning, I would have been like, hey, listen, okay, so I'm joking. This is not really a good idea. This guy has no idea what he's going to be doing. But by the way, also more prepared than Trump for the presidency if that actually happened. But bringing Stacey into like Secretary of State, she probably went, Secretary of Interior, Secretary of something that she would have experience in, HUD, great idea. Giving her that executive administration experience and setting her up for something down the road. Yes. But there is also a ton of people who have government experience who are in their 40s.
I'm just really worried that Joe is going to blow this. And I'm not super confident that, so the Rams released a new logo. This is just a quick aside. The Rams released a new logo and it's not great, but it's not, awful. It's not like the old Wizards logo. You remember that thing, like where it's like pointing at the basketball, like that thing was an abomination. It's not that bad, but
didn't he go with the one where he's like jamming the Wizard?
It's like
for a dunk.
He's like doing like the Heartbreak Kid. Like he's got like one leg out and one leg there, and he's like pointing at like a basketball.
The bad one. The bad one.
Yeah.
But then they went.
He's got like a star with one hand and like a basketball in the other.
That's right. Yeah.
That piece of shit. Anywho, the Rams
go with the bullets.
The Rams released a new logo, and because it's the internet and it's 2020, everyone's just like, "Fuck this! It's the worst thing ever, and I can't believe it." And,
not that bad, though.
But it's not. It's Biden. It's like fine. It's somebody. It's capable. It's a logo.
Lukewarm water.
It's a logo.
Not satisfying in any way, but it's okay.
It's Epsom salt. It's fine. It's better forever. You're gonna die in that shit.
Unless the expiration date has passed, then we must throw it out.
Million-year-old salt.
By the way, we really should have cameras running here 24/7 for some of the nonsense that happens here. But sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like Joe's gonna have to understand that when he eventually does say, like, you know, I'm picking Kamala Harris to be my running mate, there's just going to be a bunch of people who are just going to be like, fuck this. This is the worst thing ever. I can't believe you did this. You ruined everything.
And then Trump,
I was going to vote for you up until this moment. And then just don't fucking panic.
Trump's going to come out and do something dumb. And then that's going to be the
Kamala
story.
Harris would be a fine vice president if it comes to that. I mean, like, I don't want it to happen.
Trump comes out using the N-word on TV. Like, I ain't worried about running around. And we're back in. See, Joe, you're fine.
And then Joe's just like, good, I get time to take more naps.
You know, Kamala, just you handle this one. All right.
There's this actor, Roberto Arizona, I've been following really closely. He really follows the nap method. Says it keeps him sharp. And he's still playing Metal Gear. He can't hear a thing.
He can't hear a thing we're saying.
Last thing before we go.
Yes.
Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of England, has coronavirus.
Yes.
And is just this afternoon was transferred to the ICU, where his condition has gotten steadily worse over the course of the day, apparently.
Now, obviously,
we you know, being human beings with empathy, want to wish him a speedy recovery.
Wanted to start there. Yeah. Yes, we don't wish ill of anyone except for Harvey Weinstein, who absolutely deserves it. And Boris Johnson is a horrible person, but in a political way, not in a 30 years of abusing his power kind of way.
In the I don't like Stephanie Rawlings Blake because I disagree with her politically, not because I think she deserves to die or anything. You know, like.
But the worrisome thing is not necessarily his. I mean, it's his health is worrisome, obviously, but it's that his policies have mirrored some people we're familiar with.
Yeah.
And who would that be?
Well, like Trump and Pence for one. I mean, Pence and Boris Johnson basically had the same quote 2 weeks ago or whatever, where it's like, we shake hands. That's just how it happens. I can't.
Yep.
People will look at me weird if I don't shake hands. And now Boris Johnson is in ICU. We don't know how he got it. Probably not from shaking hands necessarily, but you know, if he's willing to be cavalier with that, then.
By the way, you know who else insisted on shaking hands?
Pence.
Well, Pence, yes, but
Trump.
also Prince.
Charles.
No, not
Harry.
Prince.
William.
The Queen Consort. Damn it, Elizabeth's husband.
Oh, yeah.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
And he's also positive.
Philip?
Philip? Yes. Philip. I want to say Philip.
I think so.
But
I'm not so big into the royals.
Yeah, me either. But there was this whole thing where he was just like, no. There's an expectation that when I meet people, I shake their hand. He is also positive for coronavirus.
Yeah.
Like, so can we put something together here, people?
I would also base speculation here. Pence looks like he's trying desperately to keep something in him. Like,
and Trump was throwing him out there all the time.
He does not look good.
No.
There's almost a worry that he's just showing up, just being like, just don't sweat on TV.
Yeah. Mike, how's the fever today? Good? All right, let's get him in makeup and get him out there. We got him propped up. All right, cool.
Looks like Nixon in the debates against Kennedy.
He's like Franklin Roosevelt in it. He's like kind of like up there, and they're like, all right, just snap those braces into place. Keep them vertical for the next 4 minutes. All right, here we go.
Can't let them know that the president can't walk.
But again, a guy who's close to the president all the time, and he might be sick, and he actually has good health insurance.
The best of you.
But hiding it because of his job.
Something tells me, like, you know, like when Reagan got shot, nobody was like asking about his insurance premium.
Weird.
It's like, nobody asked him to fill out a form first, you know?
No. Must be nice. Must be nice to have that government health care. But, yeah, so...
Sure,
listen,
we'll take this bullet out of you for no cost. Pretty sweet deal if you ask me.
The overarching message of today should be, one, you have low bandwidth. We get that. There's a lot of things to worry about, but pay attention.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of important things going on, and you got to be the kind of thing, you got to be one of those switches. You got to be a bandwidth switcher where it's like, all right, I got 15% that's not worried about surviving right now. I'm going to take 10% of that and focus on this today and that tomorrow and just try to stay informed about different things.
Yeah.
Because too many people are getting obsessed with the Hausfrau nonsense on Facebook and Twitter, and they're getting into murder porn Corona style, where it's just like, how deep into this investigation? None of it matters and none of it's true. Or maybe some of it's true, but we don't know. So just don't worry.
Just generally speaking, like, if I can leave people with something today, it's I'm seeing a lot of people, and I get it, like we're all going a little bit crazy, but I'm seeing a lot of people doing this, like, the government is planning something really, like there was all these talks about like, the deep state is going to turn off the internet in a couple days, and like we're going to, then all of a sudden all the people who were like faking their coronavirus are going to suddenly die. And then
friends, cousins, ex-husbands, friends.
Trump's going to use this opportunity to like, like all that sort of stuff. Like just all these things that people are just speculating out of nowhere. Like, look at the people who are telling you, like Garcetti, for instance, right? Yeah. Garcetti is saying, don't go to the grocery store. He's saying, don't leave your house if you can avoid it. Don't leave your neighborhood. Stay in your home way before anyone else in the country was.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's also having these press conferences where he's like, listen, I know I can't tell you to do anything.
Please.
I can't say you can't go to the beach. I'm just asking you nicely. Yeah. Don't go to the beach. Like,
okay, now I'm telling you can't go to the beach.
All right. It's been 7 days of you guys still going to the beach. So I'm going to have to get my volume up a little bit. There's no like... How well do you think the deep state is operating when nobody can get together in their secret bordellos where they're describing the plans of how they're going to overturn society? I don't get it.
All on
like,
different pages. Deep
yeah,
state, all on different pages.
Like the other one is like any deep state conspiracy that involves Trump for whatever reason. Like how the fuck does he keep that inside of him?
No.
The reason why I know there's nothing at Area 51 is because there's not a fucking chance he was able to keep that in.
Except for I think they didn't tell him. That's why I think it's still there.
Maybe.
They didn't tell
I guess
him.
there is a chance.
He didn't think to ask, and they didn't tell him.
Hey, what's going on with this alien thing? It's best if you don't know. Good enough for me.
I mean, but honestly, guys, if you think Trump's involved in something deep state, during the time before he was president, he gave away information given to him in a briefing because he wanted to brag about knowing it. How is it possible that he's part of some big conspiracy? Yeah. I do not understand how people that make the logical leap.
Well, and the people who are just like, this is trying to take away our freedom of religion and going to church and stuff. Like, I get it that in the Constitution it says that there will be no restriction on the ability to follow whatever faith you want. And
right.
I get it. For right now, we're just politely asking.
Oh.
Do not go to church. Like,
they're not kicking in doors and burning Bibles. They're not throwing you out in the street. They're not taking down live streams of churches.
Yeah.
They're saying, hey, don't go to one place.
Don't congregate.
Just stay in your home.
Yeah.
Live stream it. Which is what everybody in LA is doing, by the way. All the hippy dippy churches that aren't really religions, that's what they're doing. They're live streaming it. Now you've brought down the wrath of Tom Cruise.
Wait, what did I say?
I said not really religions, and you said Scientology. I was talking about like the living
I was talking about
church.
something completely different. That just happened to happen at the same time.
Never gonna work in this town again. You never hear infamous actor Roberto Arizona talking bad about Scientology. Still can't hear.
It'll be the subject of his first TikTok. But yes, just if I could politely ask everyone,
yes,
just don't go to church. Like I'm living without sports.
Oh,
this week I'm getting opening day images in my time hop like every single day.
Like the last 10 days.
And like I'm waking up all misty eyed just looking at us getting drunk at 6 a.m. Like I
technically you're going to bed watching images of you getting drunk.
Hey, time hop's up now. It beat the sun. I just if I can go without the sports, I haven't watched the sport in like 2 weeks now.
I know.
There's nothing. Like just give me this. Like I'm making sacrifices. You can make sacrifices too. You know what? The great thing about God and Christ is that you can do this on your own time. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to go to the church.
Nope.
You could if you were like bedridden because you can't walk and, you can't go to church service. God isn't going to look at you differently when you show up at the pearly gates with your Bible, like clutched next to you. He's going to be like, you read every day. You were a good person. Get in here. Like you're not Mormon, but I'll make an exception this time. Come on in. And then it's fine. Like you don't have to, he's not checking attendance when you get to heaven. Like,
also, there is no God and you've wasted your whole life. Anyway, so
I'm saying for the people who believe that there is. Let's just say that there's.
Sure.
Peter doesn't check attendance. That's
if there is a heaven and there is a God and there is a Peter at the gate, he's not seeing how many times you went to church. He's seeing all the times you cheated on your wife, which you should be more worried about than the times you went to church.
It'd be funny if they just pulled up the board and it's just like, all right, so we just came up with a simple and effective policy where it's how many times you went to church minus how many times you masturbated. If it's a positive number, then
I'll see myself.
Welcome to heaven. If it's a negative number, we'll see you in hell. Just like, please don't run the math. I'll see you later.
Not necessary. Thanks for. It was a pleasure. Just be considered.
There's only a chance to go to church once a week.
That's not true. They have mass down at that cathedral every single day for the non-relapse Catholics. I can only go to church once a day, hypothetically. I'm in quarantine, man. I can't even go to church, but I'm at home with my thoughts and the internet.
You can't imagine how quickly I got to get this stuff out of me.
And a closed door with my girlfriend on the other side. That might have got a little too personal, sorry.
Well, I have to go out on the balcony and smoke for a little bit. Close the curtain. Can't let anyone in the house know what I'm doing.
There's not that little traffic on the one side.
Just one person driving by going like, well, I'll be.
Furiously in the corner. All right, that's enough. That's enough. We've clearly gone too far.
Well, if we gave you a lap in this trying time, you know where you can go to show support.
Where's that?
OhTheAnthem.com. Coordinate OhTheAnthem.com. Oh, the Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's the number again?
443-219-7595. And you can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/Corey Baker Film, and at LegendsCB5 on Twitter and Instagram. New review. From Thursday, a new review today. I had the Portrait of a Lady on Fire on Thursday and Jay and Silent Bob reboot today. So covering the gamut. There's many.
That's a big
gap. It's a big spectrum of movies there. But go check them out and tell me what you think. And if there's anything you want me to see, let me know, and I'll put it on the list.
Yes. And while I realize we just completely skipped doing all of the socials today. So you can find more Oh The Anthem at Oh The Anthem on all your social media networks. Of course, that is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Oh The Anthem. We do our episodes live on Facebook, on Twitch, on Periscope, which is through Twitter, and on YouTube. And of course, you can find all the videos at youtube.com/Oh The Anthem. And as I said in the opening, or discussed earlier anyway, you can find everything Oh The Anthem related, including the store where there is merch up, including the DTLA shirt, which is a fantastic shirt, I gotta say. That's all available at ohtheanthem.com.
Live and in person on a person. So.
Yes, on a very attractive person.
Still not listening.
Who does not, who has a boyfriend who does not deserve her at all. Just so that's clear. Hope he listens to this later.
Still not listening. Yeah.
So you can find more of me at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks. Make sure you check out robertandcheek.com, where you can find links to my political blog, my news website, and the books which are available on Amazon.
Buy those books.
Of course, you can check out youtube.com/Rob Cheek for all of the vlog videos, like me going to get my test, how my health is doing, and everything that's been going on. I'm doing Huel, so you can check out the Huel videos there as well, and the Everyman movie review. All those videos are available on YouTube. I recently did a review. I have no idea what it was for. I just did it last night. I should probably know. Snowpiercer.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Bong Joon-ho. Yeah.
Yes, Bong Joon-ho's not his first movie, but the first one that had wide appeal in the United States.
Yeah, the first American movie, I guess, if you will.
And surprisingly good, and surprised me. I saw it in 2013. Surprised me again when I watched it again this year. So I got a bunch of stuff shot. It's all going to go up, and you can keep track of all that stuff over on YouTube. And the website is up.
Yeah.
Did I mention that in the little spiel? I went through my spiel and I forgot.
You mentioned the website, but you didn't talk about how...
The website, robertandcheek.com, is up in a very rough form. It's been down for a while. I'm teaching myself Dreamweaver, so it'll be a slow process. I think I took 4 hours to get the homepage up.
Yeah.
But it's up. So
it's
moving
there.
in the right direction.
There's proof of you on the internet.
Proof of me on the internet, robertncheek.com. So.
All right. Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something, but I know it is not good.
100% certain.
100% certain. But as always, you're listening to the Oh the Anthem podcast, part of the Oh the Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Make sure you join the Facebook group Anthem Alliance so you can talk about this show and every episode between 1 and 312. Thank you guys for 6 fantastic years. Looking forward to the next 6. Have a great week, everybody.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Oh, wait. I can't sing this song.
No. It's public domain.
Oh,
It's
is
fine.
it now?
Yep. Public domain.
I thought it was Patty Hill still had the...
Nope. Public domain.
Happy birthday, dear Oh the Anthem Podcast.
Plus, I'm pretty sure nobody be able to know what song you're singing.
Happy birthday to you.
Even if it was copyrighted, they wouldn't claim it.
Dr. Drew.
Wait, so I'm coming back because we're still live. Corey Baker, I cut him out a little bit. He said something about Dr. Drew. Do you want to just hit that?
What?
We're still live.
Are we still live?
Yeah, I can come back to the camera. I am unaware of this.
I'm not recording on the podcast.
That's fine. No, this is bonus footage just for people who check on YouTube or are watching live right now. We have a couple of people. By the way, Rebecca, thank you for joining us over on Facebook. Yes, I am feeling better. So feel better about that. But yeah, Dr. Drew, what?
So he had there was a video mashup that was put together of all his comments pre-corona really going into full effect.
Yeah.
And he was going out there saying like it's just the flu. Everyone calm down. Just live your lives. It's just like I'm going on the subway every single day. You don't see me stopping. And like people were calling up going like I'm really worried that this might get out of control. And he's just like don't be. And like just like every single statement he made looked horrible in the light of day. Like after some deaths started like piling up, and he's apologized for it. But before he apologized for it, he also tried to take down all the videos by claiming copyright things on them, which made the backlash all the worse.
Yeah.
And then I mean like I feel bad that like his family is being threatened and stuff on the internet, but
yeah, that shouldn't happen ever.
But him personally, I kind of feel like he did this to himself. Like, much like I said a couple weeks ago. Like, I don't go out there making bold predictions because unless I'm 100% certain my bold prediction is going to turn out well, I don't want to have egg on my face. So
this is why Corey avoids the hot takes now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. If you guys didn't know, Dr. Drew, bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
Fuck
so
you, Dr.
go
Drew.
look into it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good week.